Good afternoon, everybody, or good evening, depending if you're my friends in Argentina. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm super excited. I hope the ladies are today. This is the all platform prepper panel. And we have people, a representative from Instagram, one from TikTok, and someone from YouTube. So I know everyone's got a schedule. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to basically turn it over to you guys, starting with my mother, Spark. So tell us about your channel. Do a quick intro and let everyone know, if they're not already following you, who you are, what your main platform is, and what you like talking about.
My name is Christy, and I am my mother's Spark, and I am on YouTube because I can't figure out how to use the rest of them correctly. So maybe one of these two lovely ladies can actually help me out with the other ones. But my channel is primarily prepping, and it's just a big mix. It's not just one specific thing. I have a big mix, and also once a week I do faith-based videos. But I show everything from how to can things to how to make home herbal remedies. That's all.
Awesome. Well, homesteading, this one's yours now.
Well, that's all. Like, that's not enough, right? Well, my first priority is always food, which I actually just changed my shirt. It said naps and snacks. Um, so roaming, as you know, I'm, golly, what am I, 8.5, 8-ish months pregnant now, with number 7. So that's why I care so much about food. So I hit on gardening a lot, using kind of what's becoming dead skills, gardening being one of them. But it seems like the pandemic's kind of reignited that fire in a lot of people. But providing sustenance for my family, for local small businesses where we live in a small military town. So being able to, drop off 62 eggs at the bakery and walk out with a brownie, like that's a pretty cool trade for me. Medical preparedness. My boyfriend and I were medevac in the Army. He was a medevac pilot for 20 some odd years. I actually posted a cute picture of him the other day. And so having basic medical knowledge, functionality there, being able to care for your pets medically, basic animal husbandry. So we keep chickens. We have Australian Shepherds, and everybody works together. So we really harp on, my almost 12-year-old would say, harp on teamwork, working together, following behind one another. If he leaves the feed or the feed lid off the chicken feed, stepdad follows behind and puts the lid on, or, there's always a continuous cycle where we're all working together. Even tonight, the grocery store doubled my meat. So making a sandwich line of like, okay, we've got to take all this extra meat so it doesn't get wasted. But prepping food, prepping medical supplies, prepping your kids, prepping the individual themselves, or things that I typically hit on, sharing recipes, fun activities with your kids, because I think the biggest killer of prepping and actually putting these things into action is going to be boredom. So, figuring out ways to combat those things now without relying so much on objects that are going to potentially be lost if a certain type of situation were to happen, or really any situation, because if you have to charge, then that device is not going to serve you. So just working on a lot of things like that would help just kind of sustain a family and keep that cycle going for as long as possible, self-sufficient.
Very, very cool. And yeah, that's a full house, lady. And
Yeah.
prepped and prepared.
Hi, my name is Carson. I'm prepped and prepared on TikTok. I teach canning as well as practical preparedness and doomsday preparedness with an emphasis on rebel canning. I'm very pro-education, pro-research. I tend to cater more to the moms, especially the newer moms. I'm a newer mom. I like to teach people how to prep on a budget, how to be very resourceful in their prepping. But like yourselves, my passion is food preservation and learning everything I can about it.
Very cool. And people asking questions. We'll go to the chat real quick. So if you have a YouTube screen on the side, the mods have the little wrenches. So, oh, that's me. Hudson Valley, teamwork makes the dream work. Jake Dials, Carson is the best. So you have a follower followed you here, Vision. And her is full of magic. Tennessee Tactical, I try to control where the preps are. So, yeah, all right, ladies. So I told you guys I had some canned questions for you. And I guess the first one would be absolutely a loaded question. So, in light of recent events, what should people start expecting for 2023? I will start with Homestead because she looks like she's going to explode over there.
Well, I mean, so part of my day job is doing, spiritual coaching and tarot reading. I'm also a licensed and ordained Christian minister. So, dabbling in those kind of outside intrinsic affairs is kind of like my day job. I think that it's going to be interesting. And I think that right now, if you even had an inkling that in a past life you were a farmer, you should probably do some research on that. Get into growing your own food, get away from relying on grocery stores. But I think that would be smart for anyone. That's not even just like a mystical, magical fortune teller ball kind of a prediction. I mean, that's true for everybody. If there's a skill that you're interested in, I think right now, while you still have internet, while you still have electricity, while you still have libraries, while there's not, wild packs of dogs roaming the street, so to speak, now's the time to get get learned. Like if we're talking like, I mean, there's a lot of crazy crap going on, right? Like missiles mysteriously falling into Poland and oh wait, that's an accident. Oh wait, no, it's not an accident. Like what is it? Random diseases coming back from the dead, all sorts of stuff. I think if anything, the last few years has taught us to just be prepared for anything. I mean, my generation, the group of millennials, I mean, how much crap have we lived through already? How many recessions, how many wars, the first like real major terrorist attack, like the crazy rush to join the military, like getting through all these recessions, getting through all these bubbles and recalls and like just craziness. I think if anything, it's taught us that we need to stay on top of our preparedness and to really emphasize the tools and the techniques that work for us and our family. And staying up to date on knowledge. So if you studied guns last year, different types of shells and different types of weaponry. And this year, you haven't touched it at all. And so you've kind of brain dumped information, staying on top of those things, staying on top of your medical knowledge, staying on top of your canning knowledge, having printouts of these things, so that you can go back to them. I have a whole list. We feed our chickens every day, but I have a list printed out of food that is safe for chickens, food that is not safe for chickens, different canning methods, what is safe to can at this temperature, how long does this need to be, different variations of stuff like that. Having backups for your backups, and then what to expect. I think I feel like, this never-ending war that is happening in Eastern Europe, I think is going to probably continue. I think a lot of excuses are probably going to be made to keep NATO out of the war. So even if Russia flat out bombed Poland yesterday for real, like they were like, hey, it was us, wanted to claim responsibility or whatever. I don't think anybody's ready to take the next step. I think in terms of our leadership, I think they want to play the first-time parent in a way where they're like, okay, I told you not to do that. So if you do it again, now I'm really going to have to put you in timeout, or I'm really going to have to spank you. And mommy doesn't want to have to do that. So don't hit your brother again. I think it's going to be a continuous testing and pushing of the boundaries. And nobody really wants to make that tough call yet. I think that's going to be the hard one. Who's going to be that guy that's going to plunge us into a world war? Because that's essentially what we're talking about, is literally a world war that's going to have not only economic, but food and medical and commerce impact as well. So it's a lot to wrap your head around. I feel like there's going to be more and more food issues, medicine issues, supply issues, all of that.
Carson, what about you? What are you thinking? What's your crystal ball telling you for next year?
Well, I don't have a crystal ball, but I do have numbers, and I highly rely on them. If you're checking the market, you're definitely going to see a crash coming, very much a recession in the spring, possible depression. If you're looking at the housing market, it's a bubble. It's about to pop. It's about to crash. Looking at the weather, you have the grand solar minimum, which is a 400 to 500 year thing that it happens every 400 to 500 years. It causes the craziness of the weather we've seen in the last 2 years. It started 2 years ago. It's going to keep going until about 2056. It's what's causing all of our major blizzards where blizzards do not belong, droughts where they do not belong, hurricanes and tornadoes out of season. You're seeing all this stuff, which is causing a lot of crop damage. And I think it was 2020 or 2021, you had $341 billion of crop damage. And sure, insurance can fix that, but where's the food going? You have food shortages. You have the markets getting ready to crash. Depending on who you ask, you have these world leaders who are almost by design working on crashing the system so that they can bring in digital currency and one world currency, whatever thought process you subscribe to. You have all of these things that are creating this perfect storm. And whether you subscribe to doomsday prepping or practical prepping, the numbers are showing that you should be prepared. Just like Homesteading said, you need to make sure that you have food on hand. You need to make sure that your finances are in order. Do not buy a house right now. For the love of God, please do not buy a house right now. You have all of these different things working together. I'm definitely seeing inflation going even higher. If the war continues to go on, like Homesteading said, it's just going to get worse and worse. Whether you believe or not, it's by design or it's just so happenstance. You need to be prepared. I'm a Christian. I subscribe to the end times belief. I'm watching what Israel's doing. I'm watching what the Middle East is doing. Israelites right now are fleeing from Germany from persecution. And my husband even told me today, it looks like God's starting to get all this
everybody home,
getting everybody home, getting everybody ready. If you follow end time prophecies, whether it be from the Jewish prophecies, Christian prophecies, Muslim prophecies, they're all starting to align. Everything looks like it's starting to look like they know what they're talking about. So I like to give the advice to stand back and without any emotion, as much as you can give with all of the stuff going on. Say, okay, what do I need to do to make sure that me and my family are prepared? So that's what I'm looking to happen in the next year.
Yeah, that's the numbers are definitely it's funny. I often tell people, watch what the corporations are doing because they have to get it right. They have financial skin in the game, so to say. So yeah, it's scary. So, Christy, how about you? What are your thoughts
for 2023 if it actually comes? No, jokes aside, I am one that believes that eventually the opposite side's boots are going to be on our ground, but I don't think it's going to be here yet. I think it's going to be a lot of pointing fingers over there to distract us from what's really going on over here, like the ladies below me had already talked about with the inflation and people losing their homes and their jobs and so forth. And I think the more that that happens, and then this most recent announcement yesterday, I think it's going to cause a whole lot of civil unrest and things are going to blow up within our own country, not literally, but people are going to start fighting more and we are just going to implode and hurt ourselves. And then once we're vulnerable, I think that's when we're actually going to have whoever, I'm not even going to mention anyone, but whoever come over and take advantage of us being, helpless with no homes and whatever rules the government wants to create to take away more rights and more security or whatever else. They're going to take advantage of that, but we're not to that point yet. I think it's got to be civil unrest first, which I think will be starting in 2023. The more you have the commercials of the 2024 election, the more it's going to cause people to fight to an extreme. We already saw some of it 4 years ago, 5 years ago. It's going to be 10 times worse this time. And I'm not looking forward to it, but you got to keep together, network, keep your family close, keep your friends close, make sure you support each other and learn skills. If you don't know skills, get out there and learn the skills because you're going to need them one way or another.
Yeah, Tony's pointing out there were a few comments. And by the way, folks in the chat, I'm kind of losing track of the chat, so my apologies if you ask something and I miss it. Tony, huge amounts of layoffs coming. Yeah, I'm assuming he meant 10%, but yeah, we've had Amazon, Twitter.
No, I think it was 10,000, and I'm not sure if it was Amazon that did the 10,000. Somebody just laid off 10,000, and I remember being like, "Wow, that's kind of significant."
Yeah, that's some serious, and that's just going to be a negative snowball, right? It's just going to keep getting worse over time. It's kind of scary, actually, when you think about it. So yeah, basically everything's going to be a problem. So I did a little poll while you guys were chatting, and let's see if I can find the poll now that I've put it in the comments and I can't find it. So in any case, it showed that the largest concern, 48%, was food, the biggest priority right now, followed by 24% of other things. 17% was gear, and 10% was training of the people watching all of us right now. So what are your thoughts on that prioritization of food? I mean, do you guys think that's where you need to start? I'll start with Carson on this one.
Yes, absolutely. What's the point of learning how to defend yourself if you can't feed yourself? I think every skill is important, but feeding yourself and your family, that's where we're seeing the biggest shortages and the biggest hole that people need to prepare for. I think most people only have about 3 days worth of food or a week worth of food. And I know for a fact the grocery stores only have an average of 3 days worth of food for their normal amount of people. So if you have a panic buy rush, it's going to be gone within an hour or two. And you have all these people who haven't prepared food, and most of it's junk food. I think it's almost in my opinion, one of the most significant things that people not only need to prep, but learn how to prep and learn how to preserve.
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. Christy, Allison, what are your thoughts on that?
I think food is important too. It actually makes me kind of sad that people are struggling now to get food while the prices are up and didn't do it a year or two ago. If you're able to get it now at a decent price, not only do I think you should get it, I think you should find a way to preserve it for long term, which you can do. Stop buying the quick, microwave meals and start buying stuff that you can make your own meals already prepared in a jar and throw it on the shelf. So in a month, 2 months, 3 months, a year, you can pull it off and you can feed yourself when a burger is, $30 if we can even eat them in a few years. Who knows? We may just be eating printed crap, but it's definitely something you should be doing now if you haven't already. And don't just fill up on beans and rice, guys. I can't stand hearing people say just buy beans and rice. You don't want to live off of beans and rice. Yes, it's important to have, but make sure you have things that you like as well. Find ways to store your spices so that you can make a good variety of food, not just the pure, bland, basic, foundations. Expand on them. Use your mind and think of how many different meals you can make off of these 3 ingredients and expand it. It's pretty easy to do if you just put some thought into it. And then also make sure that you replenish anything you do take out of your stocks. Don't just put it off for a month down the road, because a month down the road, you may not be able to get it to replenish whatever you took out of your pantry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely staying on top of what you're using, replacing what you're using. And then also as you're going through things, like it was kind of like I felt like almost out of season in a way, but my son's school decided to throw out a canned food drive this week. And like, I'm all about donating food and sharing and whatever, because hopefully if I give now, then that's less people that'll show up at my house later. Maybe, I don't know, wishful thinking. And so that gave us an opportunity, though I didn't need one more thing to do. It gave us an opportunity to go through our bucket system, to go through our pantry, to go through our pantry and our kitchen, and find things that are going to go out this month or December or even January, I think is what I pushed it to. And it was something that my son could work on with me, and, and then have the enjoyment of being able to walk into school and take that stuff and share it. But definitely learning your skills. Should food be a priority right now? Yes, I think food is always a priority for people. We wake up first thing in the morning and we're hungry. We look for what at lunch? We're not looking for nothing, and then we come home at the end of the day expecting what? And then we all fight can I have one more what before bed? So those words are there, and people are going to want actual tangible things to go with those words. And I think the worst thing I've ever experienced from a pastoral standpoint was when I worked in the church and I worked outreach, and having families come to me. It was the worst thing to see a hungry child. And then my own story, I've been through a wildfire. I've had those situations where I'm drinking a glass of water and my son's eating chicken nuggets. I think that ability to provide something for your family as a man is super important. It makes you feel like you've accomplished something. But for a woman, I think it means so much to be able to provide a meal for your family. Because it's not just nutrition, it's warmth, it's love, it's care and compassion, it's all of those things. Food tells a whole story. So definitely having some variety. And then as you're buying things, as you're stocking up on things, looking at what's actually working for your family. We stocked up on mayonnaise, normal size mayonnaise jars, but we don't really use mayonnaise. And so we donated a lot of mayonnaise. And so we've learned things as we're going along. Like it was on sale, it was a great idea. And then we got over chicken salad. And so we don't, use a lot of mayonnaise. So knowing what works for you and taking advantage of sales, if you have a deep freezer, if you have a dehydrator, Cyber Monday, Black Friday, these are things to look for with these holiday sales that are coming up, and socks. Because Walmart always has those center aisle, like big box buckets. That's when I buy socks for everybody for the whole year. So shopping smart, like Carson said, shopping on a budget, knowing how to prioritize and maximize your money, starting to do those things even after Christmas. After Christmas is what? Christmas clearance. So getting your Valentine's gifts out of the Christmas clearance section might not be such a bad idea. They have bubble baths and stuff, but everything, that is available, if you can get it in a way that helps you stretch your budget, whether it's food or commodities, that's honestly the best way to go. And then variety, we don't want to wear the same perfume every day. Why would we want to eat beans and rice every day? Now I'm good with beans and rice because I'm Hispanic. So I can eat beans and rice every day. I mean, there's any number of ways to fix that, but that may not work for everybody. So keeping what's comfortable for all the creatures in your area, in mind is a good way to approach this too, so that you're not just miserable.
Yeah. And more than beans and rice, because that will get old, most definitely. So, all right. So you don't have to give specifics. Obviously, we want to not say too much online. But in your area, what concerns you the most? What do you think the big problems could be? A little more specific to your area. So I'll let you three decide, since we've already gone around. I'll let you three decide which one wants to answer this question first.
I think it's Christy's turn.
Yeah, I say I don't mind going first on this one. Actually, my biggest concern is I'm right on the coast. I am right on the southeast coast. And that makes me quite uncomfortable being right on the coast. My husband and I have a plan to move up to the Tennessee mountains within the next 5 years. We're pushing to do that. Nice. We are way too close to the water. We want to get farther away from military bases and entrances to our country, and be more centered and closer to people that if we need help, we know that they'll be there, and or if they need help, we can get there faster than what we would now. We're so far from everybody. It doesn't make sense. And even though it's beautiful here before all this SHTF, it's just not a good place to be now.
Good. I'll go next if it's okay.
Carson, how about you? We'll go reverse order now.
I think for me, I'm in Texas. I'm in a part of Texas that is known for its sporadic weather. I could deal with tornadoes and blizzards, all, could be in the same week. So I like to be prepared for unexpected weather out of season. And then in my specific town where I am and where my house is, I've got some rivers that rise, and if they rise too much, I'm kind of stuck where I am and would have to go like 2 hours out of the way just to get to my normal town. But other than that, I'm in a really good spot. I'm more worried about the people more than anything, and preparing for people who might not be super friendly if SHTF were to occur. So I like to make sure that my community is tight and make sure that where I am, I'm in a good spot to where I could go to multiple places if we're experiencing a lot of civil unrest.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like, I know that's one of my fears, so I won't say that's probably like everyone's fears, is like what all these people show up at your house because they know they've seen you with roaming and as corgis on YouTube Live and whatever, so they know to follow the sound of violence to his house to get snacks or whatever. That's kind of one of my fears. I also am a little nervous about, I mean, I live in the buckle of the Bible Belt. So what makes me nervous about that is, there's lots of things in the Bible, right? There's things like wisdom, there's things like using common sense, there's things like that are in there, that, I'm kind of concerned that people will right away take this approach of like, no matter what I do, if I stand out in a lightning storm, God's going to protect me. There'll be like this temptation to unnecessarily tempt fate, which, I think God's shown us quite a bit over the years. If we're still here, then I think he's doing his job. So I don't feel the need to go out and tempt fate, but I'm concerned that there's going to be those people that are like, I have one bottle of water and I've got one loaf of bread and I'm good because, you know, everything's going to be provided. Well, yes, but there's also preparation that and planning that comes with that too, which we're given a lot of instruction on as well in the Bible. So that's the part that concerns me, is people not using their God-given wisdom. We're all given a measure of faith, but we were also given a large measure of wisdom to use.
And talent.
Yeah, and talents and
Mhm.
time and treasure and prophesying and all these things. So I'm just concerned that people aren't gonna believe what they're seeing. Like, we're always told, you know, don't believe what you see. Don't believe the media. Don't believe anybody. Well, if we don't believe anybody, then where does that leave us, you know? So I think my concern is people not preparing, still not preparing, still not, you know, laughing at us right now, sitting behind their computer screens like, ah, look at these losers talking about the world ending. That's the part that concerns me. I don't want to see people struggling. I don't want to see families having a hard time. My neighbors, man, like, we gave them like 30, 40 cans of formula because they couldn't find their baby formula. While I'm glad I was able to do that, it was scary for me. My baby didn't need it at that point, but it was scary for me for them because a baby needed those things. And so I don't want to see that. I don't want to see the unnecessary struggle. And then I don't want to see the reactionary craziness and chaos that's going to come from that. That part is kind of like, you know, I've kind of learned to accept it now given what's going on, but Revelations was always the book I didn't want to live through when I was a kid. Like, I hope that, you know, that comes after me, or I don't have to see that, or because it always scared me the most. Obviously I've grown up and I've learned a lot more about God, but and it's not, you know, all scary and, you know, all of that, but um it is that uncertainty of not knowing what the people around you are going to do. um like, you can keep your circle close, but what if your neighbors aren't a part of your circle? You know, what if your retiree neighbors across the street on all four sides next door and whatever, you know, decide, hey, you know, I'm 60, 70, I've been to Vietnam, I'm set in my ways, I've got my Crown Royal, I've got my whole cache of whatever weaponry. Like, that kind of stuff makes me nervous because while, you know, I'm sure any of us would be happy to share some things or one or two of this or whatever, we can't sustain everyone. And so a lot of times when I see those, um, you know, memes about prepping, and I'll just come to your house, it actually makes me uncomfortable because I'm like, man, I wish. And then there's the, you know, how to have that tough conversation when people do show up, or even family members that don't take it seriously. But you know, the moment they show up, that's when it's going to be real serious. They're going to take it real seriously. And so those things concern me. My concern of just the not believing what is actually going on, what's actually being seen. It's not that we're just not listening to what's being said. There's actual stuff playing out like a movie in front of us in real time, in real life, that how can you ignore? How can you not go to the store and buy an extra, you know, shelf stable milk or can of soup or whatever it is? How can you look at these signs and ignore them? Because the signs are there. And so that, you know, like I keep saying, that's the part that makes me nervous, is I look around and I'm like, crap, people still are not taking this seriously. Like, what the heck? And it's like, you just want to grab them and be like, come on, just buy an extra can of soup, please, for the love of God. And they just won't. And that sucks. And that's really hard for me. I joke about that all the time with you, but that's really hard for me. You know, is you just want everyone around you to be prepared, and then they just don't. It's like they don't even want to live. I don't know.
I totally get what you're saying and all that. And speaking of Revelation and so forth, it says that in the end times that the days will be like Noah.
Mm-hmm.
The signs are there. God warned people back in Noah's time, but not
Yeah.
everybody got on that ark. And it's unfortunate, but not everybody can get on that ark. And even though we want to go out there and we want to help everyone and we want to save everyone, it's one of those things that you do your part and then you have to turn it over.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think my sister had a great phrase, let go and let God, with some people. And I think that was one of the best tidbits of wisdom she ever gave to me. So, but yeah, those are, wow, that's head spinning. I think you've just given everyone in the chat heebie-jeebies. They're all three of you. They're probably sitting here thinking, holy cow, we weren't thinking of that before. So, all right. So in that context, wait, who did the last question? I'm losing track. I guess, is it Allison? Is it your turn or Carson? Christy started the last one, right?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does matter.
Okay, that's fine. I'll let you guys pick who wants to run with this one. Okay, so there have been so many abductions and assaults specifically
Jesus.
targeting females lately. And all of you have families, y'all have kids. What are your thoughts on being prepared from the female perspective? And not being sexist or anything, but I do believe there's a different viewpoint from a mother. What are y'all's thoughts? I'll let you guys run with this.
Well, one thing that stood out a lot to me in the news, mostly because I am 8 months some odd pregnant now, is how many assaults are happening in labor and delivery or mother baby units the last month and a half or so. From babies being choked by new dads to nurses being shot to all sorts of just craziness. And I actually went into labor and delivery last week and noticed they had extra armed security walking around on the mother baby unit there. And while that made me feel a little bit better, I watched the security guards and noticed they were talking to each other. They're, were kind of just not really paying attention. They weren't really well identifiable. And they didn't really seem to understand the significance of where they were in the hospital. Because I would think the NICU babies would be the most vulnerable patients in the hospital. So that was concerning to me because at first I was like, yay, more security. That means we're more safe. But when I realized the more security actually meant more distraction for the security guards, that was a little unnerving. So my advice, and I was in the Army for 8 years, and I was the only female in a lot of units that I was in and dealing with creeps of all kinds, not just guys, but all kinds.
Oh yeah.
So just knowing when to walk away. Just because somebody says, hey, your name's not Hey. So if you respond to Hey, now you're distracted. Now your angle is even compromised. So unless they're specifically calling out to you, not even responding, not traveling alone, not traveling at night, moving with a purpose to and from your vehicle, not unlocking the whole car. I have like a whole crazy plethora list. And then having all of your kids, if you're out with your kids, having them all exit the vehicle on one side, whatever side you're on, they exit on your side so that you can maintain positive control of all your crazy kids that want to run around the parking lot. And then as much as possible, leaving your family at home. Society is not safe. I live in a really, really tiny town, and it is overrun with military. Lots of Army here. My boyfriend is retired Army. I'm retired Army. We've got Army people all around us. There was still a shooting in our Walmart here in town. And the entire town was lit up. Everybody knew about it. We were all texting each other. Literally, we were all texting each other, dog groomer, chief of police, everybody all in the same, text group. And something like that still happened here. There, it was unbelievable. It was shocking for our town. And so just knowing like, hey, we thought that Walmart was creepy at night for real, like, and now it really is. So we just don't go at night. Picking a good time to go shopping with another mom, not leaving your kid unattended, not leaving anything unattended, having your hand on the basket at all times, one side or another, buckling your kid in the basket, sticking it through their belt loop so that even if they tried to take the baby, she's attached to the basket. So there's so many things to consider, but I think your biggest advantage is just going to be not going out at night. Not going out at night, not, back in the 90s, we used to avoid strangers. We used to not talk to random people online. Now we call random people from online to come pick us up and take us to some other strange place we've never been. Being smart about it, realizing you only have one life to live. And if you don't prioritize your life, nobody else is going to prioritize your life. So when you step out that door, if you don't make your existence a priority, how can you expect anyone else to? So just like Vision just said, being situationally aware and knowing that, like we said in the Army, complacency kills. So just being vigilant.
So Carson, how about you? What's your take on that question?
I think it depends on whether you're talking about practical preparedness or doomsday preparedness. Just like Vision said, very first thing you want to start with is situational awareness. If you've got your head in your phone or head in the clouds, you're immediately a target. It is absolutely ridiculous for me to hear women, especially my age, moan and complain about how, men should just leave women alone and they shouldn't rape and blah blah blah. No, yeah, they shouldn't. But it's like men and people are loaded guns. You treat everything like a loaded gun. So you need to have a little bit of common sense to treat everything like a threat. So start with situational awareness. Another thing I would say is immediately right now, learn how to defend yourself, and not with a cute little pepper spray. That helps. Get a gun. Learn how to shoot it. Become comfortable with it. Don't be a pillow princess and try to get somebody else to do it for you. You need to learn how to protect yourself when it comes down to it, because I'm used to being followed. I live in a place where we have one of the highest sex trafficking rings in our area. I'm used to being followed. I'm used to people following me in my car, and I'm not scared to cause a scene. I hate when I see on Facebook my female friends going, "Oh, it was so scary. Somebody followed me in Walmart and I had to go get the manager and I just let him follow me for an hour." And it's like, why didn't you turn around and cause a scene? Why didn't you get rude? Why didn't you find a man to immediately say, like, this dude is bothering me, and cause a scene? I hate that most of the women my age, and probably the women above me, have been taught, don't be rude. Don't be mean. No, be rude. Be nice. It's not your job to be nice to everybody, especially if they're a creep. So situational awareness and learn how to defend yourself. Don't be scared to defend yourself and cause a scene. And when it comes to doomsday preparedness, learn how to hide. It's not your job. When it comes down to it, you do everything it takes to survive. If it comes down to shaving my head and looking like a man and making myself the most undesirable target, I am not scared to do it. When it comes down to it, me and mine are going to survive. And I think it takes that mentality for women, and not, well, I don't want to be rude, or this is not fair, and blah, 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 blah. Put down the victim mentality and learn how to survive and learn how to take care of yours. I think another thing that is not talked about is, don't be the only person in your family knowing what to do with the food, knowing where all of your supplies are, knowing the only one who knows how to cook,
Teamwork.
the only one who knows how to preserve your food. You really need to learn and make sure all of the adults, and even the kids that are capable of understanding, they need to know where everything is. They need to learn how to cook. They need to learn how to take care of themselves. And because if something happens to me, I needed to know that my family's going to be taken care of. And if they're like, well, where is this, or what temperature do I can this at, or how do I process the deer? If my family doesn't know how to do that and I'm not there, they're up a creek. And at the end of the day, my whole goal for preparedness and prepping is to take care of my babies. So situational awareness, learn how to defend yourself, and make sure everybody knows how to survive in your family.
So, Christy, how about you?
Posers.
She said a lot of what I was going to say in different words, but I was basically going to say too many women are waiting for someone to rescue them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they want everyone to protect them. And like she said, you need to know how to protect yourself. And I prefer that women carry, but if you are scared to carry, you better have another way that you can protect yourself.
Mhm.
When I was younger, I used to ride Greyhound by myself, and I would make sure I had a knife in each pocket. I would make sure that I had my keys in my fingers, and I kept them like that my entire trip. I made sure that if I stopped somewhere at a rest stop, because they stop at different bus stops, that I stood close to a security guard or I stood close to an employee. Don't put yourself in situations that you know are going to be dangerous. Avoid them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then you don't have to, pay attention to your surroundings, but if you're not putting yourself in that situation, you won't have to really pay attention as much as if you go into dangerous situations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also, make sure that everybody you're with is on the same page. If this happens, this is what we need to do. If that happens, then that's what we need to do. Know when to walk away, know when to fight. When you go into a building, know where your exits are, where all the exits are if you can. If you can't get to this door, you need to make sure you can get to that door. Pay
Mm-hmm.
attention to everything and make sure that everyone in your household or your friends or your circle or whatever is on the same page. Because if everyone has their own plan and it's not the same plan, people are going to get hurt. You're going to accidentally hurt each other without meaning to. So definitely also make sure your kids know what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pay attention
most
to
definitely.
how your kids act around certain people. Make sure that they know how to get out of certain situations. I'm a mother of a 26-year-old, so mine and a 15-year-old. So mine are all grown now. But when they are younger, it wasn't uncommon for them to, or for my son, who's the oldest now, to call me and be like, Mom, I'm in a bad situation. And I'd be like, okay, tell them that you're late to come home and you're grounded and I'm on the way. Make me the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid to be the bad guy, And it would get him I've gotten him out of a lot of situations being the mean parent. Know where your kids are, know who they're talking to. There's no such thing as privacy for minors.
No.
Period.
Nope.
If they're online, know who they're talking to and what they're doing at
Oh, yeah.
all times. And make sure if they have a fake account, you know it and you get rid of it, because there are so many disgusting, nasty people out there that take advantage of these situations.
Mm-hmm.
They are.
Sorry,
They
I
are.
went on a
And,
little bit
and
of a
it's
rant.
no
No, you're
joke.
good.
It's no
No,
joke.
people don't get it.
I had a neighbor, their kid went for a date, junior or senior in high school, to a Taco Bell 3:30 on a Thursday afternoon. Late in the year, it was sunny already. It wasn't like in the winter when it's already getting dark. They found her 10 days later. She literally disappeared from that Taco Bell.
Wow.
And they found her across on the other side of Houston. And she was in a brothel and she was not in good shape. They got her home, but that just changed the whole course of her life. She may never recover. Physically, she may, but emotionally, that's going to be a long road. So, yeah, it can happen like that. I had an interesting question. Let me see if I can find it. Outlaw Jack. Question for the panel. How do you feel about posers, preppers who claim to be more than they are for attention, interject themselves and the community? I'm assuming it means it runs rampant.
Does it run rampant?
Posers piss me off.
Is it a thing? It's a thing?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
wow. Okay.
You have
Okay, so
people out
tell me
there
about this.
Christy, this is all you.
You have people out there that like to teach people how to do things that they have no idea what the hell they're talking about. And they're teaching people wrong. And they're teaching people in ways where it can be dangerous. And you have to be careful for those channels. Be very, very careful for those channels, because when you get incorrect information that could hurt you or somebody else, just pay attention to channels and people not presenting themselves as they really are test them, like test the spirit, basically. Make sure they are who they say they are. Don't trust anybody on this thing.
And especially when it comes to food preservation, if you do things the wrong way, you give yourself a nice case of botulism in the middle of the
Yes.
apocalypse, that would really
Yes.
not help at all. So, ladies, I know we're closing in on right at an hour, and I know everyone has, and I thank you so much for joining me tonight. I guess we'll just kind of go with that last question. Any parting wisdom, a quick comment, an inspiration, something you want to motivate folks who are watching? What would you like to share with the audience?
I have a couple things. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'll tie in the poser question with this one. I really don't care what posers do and what they say, because I teach pro education and pro research. If you are consuming information online, go do your own research and go do your own searching out. Whether it's food preservation or any type of prepping, that's why posers don't really bother me, is because at the end of the day, if SHTF is going to happen, it's all of our tests. We're all going to see who is actually worth their salt and what they're teaching.
That's a good point.
I teach rebel canning. I know that's very controversial in the canning.
I'm telling.
In the canning world. And so I'm very adamant about teaching pro research and pro education, because it's not okay if somebody says, oh yeah, you can like raw pack chicken and water bath it for 10 minutes and it's fine. That's not okay. It's also not okay. It's also not okay for a canning Karen to say you can't can such and such because the USDA says it's not okay, when in fact the USDA says it's not okay because it doesn't look pretty in the jar, and the UK has tested it time and time again and they say it's actually safe. So go do your own research. Go do what makes you feel comfortable. Don't rely on anybody. Like I said, and I know this is kind of a crude statement, but don't be a pillow princess about anything. Go find out for yourself. Go do your own research. And at the end of the day, when it comes down to SHTF, you are what's going to make sure you survive. So you better be confident in what you're doing, and not because somebody else told you it was cool.
I got to tell you, you've cracked up the chat with Pillow Princess. You should make a hoodie, not a pillow princess. A little
Well, that
X on the
sounds pretty
pillow.
comfortable. I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
All right, Christy, how about you two?
I wanted to add something on security and then say words of wisdom. So in security too, another thing that most phones have tracking for your, like my husband and I, we can track each other, and we don't do it because we are worried that they're going to go run off. It's because if I break down on the interstate, he's going to know exactly where I am. If I don't show up home from work when I usually do, and I haven't checked in with him to say, hey, I'm staying late, he knows where I am and what's going on. So don't be afraid to share your location with your loved ones. Somebody who can come help you if you break down on the side of the road. Words of wisdom: have discernment. Keep your eyes on God. Keep your faith strong, because no matter what happens, everything is going to work out. It's already written. And just trust in the talents that God has given you to do what you need to do. Take the time to listen. Silence sometimes is better than speaking.
Yeah. My words of wisdom are going to be, we're all, if you're in this prepper lifestyle and you've been in it for more than a day, then you're pretty good at ignoring other people and their dumb comments about, like, why would you grab an extra of that? Do you really need 3 turkeys? I mean, maybe. Right? I mean, that's how many meals, like there's 3 moms sitting here. Like, how many meals is that? So, I think staying in line with what God's plan is for your life, what he's putting on your chest, what he's giving you urgency about, keeping in line with that, and then not getting caught up in the drama of people that want to chime in. You're doing it wrong, like the rebel canning, like that may not work for me, but I mean, you figured out a system and that works for you. Like, I've been known to can mole. I'm not supposed to can mole because it's got animal fat in it. It works. Like, so mole is an all-day affair if you make it from scratch, which I do. So I want to do it all at once. Trusting your own instincts. A lot of times, we can doubt our own intuition, doubt our own instincts. At the end of the day, we all kind of have our basic little animal instincts. Obviously, we know fire bad, don't touch, and things like that. Not making hasty decisions. Working through different situations, whether it's a work problem or what you're going to eat for dinner that week or even a year from now. Just keeping track of what you're doing things decently and in order. There's no panic right at this moment. So approaching prepping as if the world is ending in the next 10 minutes, well, you're screwed anyway. So approaching this colossal thing by taking small bites out of it and working through it, not overwhelming yourself, not blowing your budget tomorrow, doing the little weekly preps. If all you can afford is an extra can of Progresso this week, cool, it's still an extra can. As long as you're just continuously working towards whatever goal you have for your prepping situation, as long as you're still moving towards that ultimate goal, you're doing great. I think the biggest issue is maybe like as preppers, we need to reassure each other more that like we're doing great. Like, hey, I saw your post, last week where your garden was dead and now 2 weeks later it's all green again. Looks awesome. You're doing great.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it might only be us.
Yeah,
So we
it's
may
true.
as well make friends with each other now.
Yeah. And that was part of why I wanted to do this. I mean, how getting three people from three different platforms together is really cool. I mean, you think about it.
Yeah, I think this has been pretty awesome, and now we have at least two more people we can complain about our kids to. So, I mean that
There you
works
go.
out well. But yeah, I think just coming together more as preppers and as I don't know if it's really a real or legit prepper thing, but also just like maybe in if it's worth it, because not everyone's worth it, maybe reaching out to some of these poser types. um I feel like that was almost a word that my generation coined with all the skaters. So with these poser types, maybe just reaching out to them, being like, hey dude, if you want to get serious about this for real, I can give you some real tips, some real information, some
Yeah.
real whatever that will really help you. And then, like if you don't feel like it, you don't feel like it. Nobody said you had to go out of your way to like save everyone, right? But I just think that just us kind of like circling the wagons as preppers would be kind of good. And in the coming weeks, just keeping in touch, getting almost like AA meeting support group style, just reaching out to whoever's in your
Buckle up,
4 degrees. Yeah, like reaching out to whoever's in your 4 degrees, because there might be Alabama preppers that are on here that I'm like, hey,
yeah.
I'm in Alabama. Like I don't know of any other preppers in Alabama. Me personally, I don't know of anyone else, so that would be cool. Obviously, operational security, don't give out your address and all your details, but I think it would be cool if we all kind of started doing that more. I mean, that's how the four of us got together, right? We just took a leap and reached out.
Yeah, and I think we're all better for it. I think the people in the chat are super excited. Carson, everyone's saying you and Allison should put more on YouTube. So you
I
guys have
just
been
put my
voted
first
into the
video up
island.
today.
Dog CPR is not enough.
But well, ladies, I know you guys have other commitments, and I thank you so much for joining us tonight. I guess that'll kind of wrap us up, folks. So if you guys want to hang on for a second. But to all the folks in the chat and all our audience, thank you. Please check out the chats. I'm sorry, the links are in the chat for all three of these channels. Go check them out. Go say hi. Reach out. As I said, let's make a community out of this. But folks, until next time, I'm going to let everyone go. I believe my mother Spark will have a video here in a short period of time. Something's
Woo.
posting, unless YouTube ate it again, because you fought it earlier. So, but until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Ladies, thank you for joining us tonight. And just hang on a second and we'll all go backstage and say goodbye. Folks, take care and everyone be careful out there.
Thank you.